the Southern Poverty Law Center has an entire page on you. And well, for those who aren't familiar with this organization, it's basically a sort of radically left hit piece operation that has managed kind of amazingly to convince people who maybe are actually just toady allies that it's somehow like a neutral arbiter of goodness and light. And so it writes, James Lindsay has quickly become a leading voice, you should be proud of that, in the reactionary anti-student inclusion, anti-LGBTQ, and conspiracy propaganda movements. Lindsay regularly shares conspiracy theories about the supposed communist takeover of the world, especially the United States, promotes groomer rhetoric against LGBTQ community, and spreads the white genocide theory that Marxists want to eradicate the white race. With alarmism and fear-mongering, James Lindsay incites and segregates his base. And it goes on to often quote you in ways that are like, do you realize what you're quoting here? Like it quotes a long tirade in which you decry, essentially Andrew Tate style fake hypermasculinity and call for a more well-rounded and positive vision for young men. And it quotes that like you're a Nazi. So
yeah, it's really funny actually. If you actually have it up there, I don't know if you have like notes or if you actually have the website up. If you have the website up, you should look at the top and see how they categorized me, because they have categories of what type of bad person you are.
Yeah, I see. And so there's the hyperlink to anti-LGBTQ, and then conspiracy propagandists are the two related. Maybe there's some additional.
No, there's a category. I don't have it in front of me. There's a categorization at the top. I'll just tell you what I'm thinking of. One of the categories is that they put me under anti-government general, which, so I'm generally, I guess, anti-government now. So I took that as a title and I was like, so I'm the anti-government general. Cool. And then they also categorized me under General Haidt, which I also took as a title. And I did a podcast thanking them for calling me General Haidt and made a bunch of graphics. I think I sell t-shirts about me being General Haidt where I photoshopped my face onto an old, Revolutionary War painting or something. And, yeah, so they're crazy. I mean, if you actually look through it, you'll find that there's this opening section. What they accused me of there is like 4 things, I think, and 3 of them are kind of true in the twisted left-wing way. And then I don't actually promote the white genocide theory. Like that's literally made up off of one interpretation of one tweet that I made that was taken out of context years ago. And so they try to make as much hay out of like nothing as they possibly could. But then if you scroll down just a little bit, the first thing they talk about in any substantial way about me is that I made a series of tweets mocking George Floyd on January 6th. Like, it's the stupidest thing in the world. I pretended that George Floyd was like, basically Democrat Santa Claus. And if you fight for George Floyd's justice, then Jay Sixsmith, his ghost will bring you presents. And I just made these stupid tweets just being like flippant, like January 6th, I don't know, 2022 or 3, whatever year, it doesn't matter. I thought it was just funny on the day, just something silly and fun. And it's the first thing they use to like show what a bad person I am, is that I made these stupid jokes about George Floyd on January 6th that are absolutely idiotic. Just to kind of show you how stupid they are. But it turns out, like you said, they've convinced normies or whatever that this is somehow some important organization that has important things to say. So as it turns out, that crap has consequences. Here's 2. I was just in New Zealand, right? And I was invited there to speak by the Deputy Prime Minister, which seems like kind of a cool thing. So I spoke for David Seymour at his party meeting, or the rally that they had after their annual general meeting for their party. And it went very well. Everything was very, nice. It was a good little, 2-hour event. It wasn't a big deal. And there was a pretty decent, protest, mostly online. There's a dozen or so people that showed up outside. Most of them were like Antifa, actually. But it was pretty stupid. But they posted up online pretty hard. And the main point to try to rally Kiwis against me was that I have this Southern Poverty Law Center profile that says all these terrible things about me. And that's what they used as evidence that I'm some huge problem and shouldn't be welcomed to the country of New Zealand. And I got a bunch of nasty notes from a bunch of left-wing activists when I was there and after I got home saying, you're not welcome in our country, get out, you fascist, you terrible person. But it's all predicated off of the fact that this Southern Poverty Law Center thing looks official. Secondly, and this is that's of no real consequence, but I can't even go to literally the other side of the world and get away from the stupid Southern Poverty Law Center. But more consequentially, I was at one point in the past, and just to remain as vague as possible intentionally to protect all parties involved, I won't give any specifics as to what it was about, but I was invited tentatively to possibly testify in the U.S. Senate on a particular topic of some importance within my range of expertise. So I submitted a kind of, written draft of what my testimony might look like to the senator who was inviting me. He liked it. So that narrows it down. It's one of the male senators that invited me. You can nail him now. So he liked it. And, I was on the let's see if we can fit you in the schedule list, which is like the second, who would we kind of like? Okay, can we make the schedule work? And then they come back to me and they say, no hard feelings. We can't have you, and I thought, well, there's other people. It's kind of my thing was sort of tangential to the main thing. So I would kind of expected that and wasn't that put off by it. But I was like, yeah, no big deal. And he was like, it's not that your testimony is not valuable. Actually, it would be really great if we could. This was one of his staffers saying this. It's that that Southern Poverty Law Center profile you have is obviously ridiculous, but you're going to sit there and what's going to happen is you'll give your testimony and every Democrat in the room is going to ask you about it. And it's just a distraction from what we're trying to achieve to have that. So what the Southern Poverty Law Center is doing has a purpose. Right? Yeah. It's not just to create this sense of gravity, but that sense of gravity gives, say, in that case, elected Democrats in the upper chamber of Congress the ability to derail testimony based off of this completely made-up nonsense thing that the Southern Poverty Law Center wrote, from what appears to be the depths of a fever dream.
There is what Mike Benz and Michael Shellenberger and others have called it a censorship industrial complex that is very interconnected, and it's very clear to me that the Southern Poverty Law Center is part of that. It's part of a sort of a, as a longtime computer nerd, there was this term FUD back in the day, which was that, when a new product would be announced, Microsoft in particular was good at spreading FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's what this is. This is let's just chink your ethos and get you a little on people that don't know you and don't know the Southern Poverty Law Center and are just regular people. They're still like, I don't know about this. Yeah. If it's Southern poverty, they must have been fighting for civil rights in the 60s, so they must be good guys.
Yeah.
So therefore, he must hate black people or something. Okay, I don't know if he's suspect now.
Yeah, and this complex is actually, this is fairly well recognized at this point. It's not like groundbreaking material, but like that stuff becomes credentialing information that can leak onto your Wikipedia page or end up getting, I shouldn't say leak, it gets aggregated onto your Wikipedia page. Same as, you'll get certain articles written about you if you've upset the apple cart enough, and say Vox or Salon or Slate or one of these kind of hit piece rags will write a thing about you. And then that will become the citation written into your Wikipedia. And I have some fairly solid back channel information that is actually partially, not entirely. Wikipedia editors are not all, some nefarious cult, but there are embedded, deliberate actors who are putting that stuff into your Wikipedia profile such that, somebody comes across my work, they're like, who's this James Lindsay guy? They go look at my Wikipedia and it says all this crazy stuff about me. And unless you kind of have the magic decoder goggles of the censorship industrial complex mentality, then you read it, you're just like, oh, he's probably nuts, And when I say that this is a censorship industrial complex, obviously reflects off of the concept of military-industrial complex. And the military-industrial complex, the military is literally a government agency, right?
Yeah.
And so the point here, and this is of course why people like Mike Benz would be so interested in it, is that there are very strong reasons to believe that government actors are part of that network. In fact, possibly the ones that are sometimes editing the Wikipedia page. And then once it gets on your Wikipedia page, again, you face this same problem. You know, you've got your good senator probably doing some deep diving research to find out who's this guy who might be testifying, and he looks that up, or she looks that up, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at this. He said this terrible, crazy thing that's obviously taken way out of context. And then what's the citation? Oh my gosh, the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is serious. And then, like you said, you know, you get the FUD effect, and then beyond the FUD effect, if you get called to do anything official or important, you get grilled on it. It becomes a point that you like. Anything, if I get called as an expert witness in a court case, which sometimes happens, chances are very good on deposition that I'm going to have to defend myself against the Southern Poverty Law Center accusations. It's like it becomes this albatross that's like a fake albatross. It's like a heavy stuffed albatross that they've chained to your neck, and you can't get rid of it because, oh my gosh, it's a Southern Poverty Law Center. So yeah, I mean, this is a real phenomenon in terms of how they, you know, create a kind of soft silencing of people who they don't want having their voice elevated.
If you like this clip, you should check out the full video and all the other great content we've got at Dad Saves America. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss our new stuff as it drops each week.